Hi, everybody. It's Chris with the Cloverdale Transit Authority, and a big shocker. Here is another ALCO on the workbench. My friend Kyle says I've got an ALCO fetish or some kind of disease, but yeah, for some reason I have a lot of post-war steam locomotives, but these I just because there's so many of them and they're so collectible, I really like these. This is the 222 in the Rio Grande railroad scheme, and this came out, I want to say, when did this come out? It was in the 1962, that's right. This came out in 1962, and again, really not much to it. This one did not have a front coupler on it. Doesn't even have plastic in the windshields, but it does have a light, and it runs no E-unit. It's just one direction. But again, I think these are really cool. Now, the great thing about this is sometimes there are a few of them that they were widely produced. So you can find these fairly inexpensively at train shows and on eBay. I bargained really hard on this one, and I got it for well under $20. And all it needed was a little cleanup. Still needs a little cleanup. There's already hair and gunk in here just from me running it. So it needs a little more cleanup, but I got it so it would run. The wiring is really good. But the eBayer said, I don't know if it runs. At that time, it did not have a rear coupler, but I have since put the rear coupler and the return spring on there, if you can see that. Again, Beltline Hobbies has so many parts, post-war, pre-war, and modern day stuff that I didn't have a problem with getting this coupler. But the one main thing about it is, and why I was able to bargain down to a really low price, as you can see, turn around here to see the other side, at some point during its years of existence, some creative person decided to highlight certain areas of the locomotive with enamel orange day glow paint. Sadly, that's what they did. So I said, hey, you don't know if it runs. It's missing the rear coupler. It's got this. It's going to have to be repainted or something. And they were like, yeah, hey, great. I'll meet your price. And the shipping wasn't that expensive. But I had a plan for this. So the plan was, first off, to do the usual, what I call the Lionel spa day on it, meaning take off the shell, check everything over, clean the motor, clean everything up, lubricate everything, and again, scrub that shell down. It needs another scrubbing so that it is, get most of the dirt and grease off. And then usually with these, I take Armor All and a fiber cloth, and I rub it all down, and it, despite all the little dings and what have you from being played with, because these were an entry point locomotive and train set into model railroading in the late 50s and 60s for families. So it's got, little dings here and there, but that's okay with me. I like that. I like the fact that it has a story. But the yellow or the orange paint on top of the yellow, I was not a big fan of that, but I had a plan. Well, one of the plans was to try some paint thinner and try to get in there with a little paint thinner and see if I could get it off. And you can see it took some of it off, but just kind of the surface, not much. I talked to my friend Bill Krause, who's a master model maker, and I showed him a picture of this that was posted on eBay, and I told him what was going on with it and did he think that would work. And he thought, well, enamel paint that's been on there for probably decades probably wasn't going to work. And I figured he was right. I tried it anyway. He was right. So my plan is to go out to one of the big box stores and find a yellow spray in a semi-gloss or even gloss, preferably semi-gloss, that closely matches this. And they even have a paint analyzer out there where I might be able to analyze this. And I'll try to film some of that if we do that. It would be kind of interesting to see if we can find a paint that's close to this color, you know. And I've seen a yellow that's pretty close to this color. And then what I'll do is I'll mask off all these little parts. I'm just going to do one to start off with and see how it looks, and just hit it with a few layers of this paint and see how well it blends in. The other step, and I'm just kind of giving you all this as a spoiler alert because you're going to watch me do this here throughout this video, is then once I have all of these masked off and touched up with a paint that closely resembles this yellow, then I'm going to take and just do a really light wash, dry brush, very, very light dry brush of black or a gray, and kind of take down some of the shininess that's going to come with this new paint so that it appears to be a little more dull and dingy. So that's my plan. And yes, dear viewer, you are going to go on this journey with me. So now that we've got this out here, let me pull the shell off, and I'm going to head to the big box store, and I'm going to look for paint. And we may have to analyze the color on this, and we're going to come back and we're going to mask off an area, and you know, just mask off right up to the area. I don't really want to paint on top of any of the yellow paint, so we're going to mask right up to all of this and give it a little a shot with the paint and maybe a couple of light layers and see how it covers, see how it matches. And then once that's all done, then we're going to see if we can kind of age it a little bit so that those areas match the aged yellow body of the locomotive. All right, stand by. All right, so here we are back at the workbench, and I've washed this shell with my soft bristle toothbrush and Dawn dishwashing soap and warm water, just to get any of the grease and oil off there. You see it? I don't know if you can see it in the. It's kind of spotty, but I don't know. I have no idea what that is, but it doesn't come off. Well, yeah, you know what? It kind of does. Well, I did scrub it. I swear to God, I scrubbed it. But all right, well, you know, hey, it is what it is. And so the next thing I've got is I've got some of this, what they call frog tape, because it's green. But you've seen this at all the home improvement stores. It's just basically a masking tape with it's not very tacky. You know, you use this to trim around windows and doors and what have you when you're painting a room or whatever. And then it comes off, so you can mask around whatever you want painted and what you don't want painted. The next thing, I talked about getting the paint. So this is what I was able to find at Home Depot, a Glidden Max Flex. It's called Yukon Gold. It's a satin finish, so it's not high gloss, and it's all surfaces. So you notice, now you can't really go by these lids on what color this is, but I picked this up and I said, okay, it's kind of close, even though it's kind of hard to tell on camera. It's definitely a lighter shade. But my thought was on this is that if I'm painting over this fluorescent orange, which has obviously a lot of red in it, that it will, you know, and this yellow on this particular ALCO has red in the yellow. It has a red tinge to the yellow. That if I'm painting this satin yellow on top of the on top of the fluorescent orange, then it will kind of more closely match this. And then of course, you know, I'm going to kind of age it a little bit. That's going to be, if I just paint it and that's all I do, I think it still looks better with a close yellow as opposed to these orange fluorescent pieces. So, all right, so we're going to mask this off. Pretty simple. Let me get my X-Acto blade here. Okay, so pretty simple. I'm just going to get in, and hopefully you can see this here. I'm just going to kind of try to get this on the lip. I'm just going to do this one thing to start off with because I just want to see what it looks like. So I've just got it on that. You can see on the lip of that. I press that down and get some more. And you know, it's better to use a bunch of little pieces of this and mask it as best you can versus trying to stick giant pieces of tape on here. So, all right, so there's that. And then once I get this masked off, I'm gonna, and this here, I'm gonna probably, you know what? I'm deciding I'm gonna do this differently. Take this off instead of getting it up on the lip because there is some orange on the lip. I'm going to try to get down into, use this as a pointer, this little ledge that's below this upper rim. So let's try that. So I'm going to, all right, that's working a little better. Use this to press that down so I don't get any leaking going on there. Going back here to my old model building days, some of these little tips and tricks. So get that in there, press that down as best I can. All right, now one more side. Oop. That down in there. Yes, we can. Okay, now let me give you a little quick close-up of this. All right, so you see how I've masked around it. Now all I need to do is really kind of, and I could do this with paper, but I'm going to be lazy, and I've got a lot of this frog tape. So I'm just going to mask over the entire, at least top of the engine. And I'll reuse this tape, especially the pieces that are just masking over the engine building. So, all right, so I got all that down. Now I'm going to just kind of take it over to the table, put down a piece of paper, and get this all shook up. And we're going to hit that a little bit. We're just going to see how it turns out. Okay, we're over here on the table. By the way, just a quick production note. I just got a lavalier microphone, lapel mic, that works with my phone, which I shoot most of these videos on. And as I've been editing this, as the process has gone along, it seems like there's a lot of overmodulation. So I've kind of moved the mic to a lower portion in front of on my work vest here. So hopefully it's not overmodulating. I apologize for playing around with the sound here in sort of real time with this video. But anyway, so hopefully this sounds a lot better. I've got this all taped up. I've kind of got it surrounded by some paper bags. I've got the paint all shook up really well. So I'm going to just well, it's interesting. Oh, there we go. I was like, where's the color? Hey, color. All right, so there it is. All right, so moment of truth. Here we go. We're just going to, boy, I tell you what, that's a really stiff. Okay. Ooh, all right. It's coming out. There is a layer of this, and I'm still seeing some of the orange stuff. So I've just got it hit with that little layer, and it says that it's supposed to dry within 5 minutes. So we're going to let it dry and then try to hit it with another layer. But as you can possibly see on camera, that let me see if I can hit it from this side and see if I can cover that little rim up there. And hopefully I don't spray the camera. Okay. All right. So it looks like we got the inside edges, and we're going to let that dry and see if we can put another little light coat on it, and then untape it and see what it looks like. Fingers crossed. Okay. So we have, I turned this the opposite direction of where I had it on the little spray table, so I could get up in these little areas, the little walls inside this space, to make sure I got all that covered. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to take this all off in one piece, so that if I have to put it back down, I can. I can already tell that it's not quite as orange or reddish yellow as the original paint on this, but you know, like I said, it's a lot better than day glow. All right, so there's our shield that we made to mask off the bulk. Yeah, so you can see how light it is compared to this. So I don't know if we're going to really match it really well. I mean, without getting into some high-end paint mixing, and I don't know if I'm up for that. All right. Well, boys and girls, children of all ages, that's what it looks like. So it's definitely a pale yellow. And actually, I mean, if we're gonna be historically picky, you know, it's not matching. But compared to fluorescent orange, I think that pale yellow highlight doesn't actually look all that bad. What do you think? Well, leave me a comment in there and let me know what you think. And again, when I dirty this up, it's not going to be as bright as that, you know? Okay, so here it is painted, and I will tell you that I masked a lot of these things off and kind of got tired of it. And plus, it was really going to be tough to mask these portals off. So I hand painted, I'm cleaning this brush right now, but I hand painted, took and sprayed some of the spray paint into the cap, so enough where it would pool. And then I hand painted with this brush all of these little items here. I did mask some of them off and spray painted them, but it got really tedious. And I don't know which took longer, hand painting them, because see, it's a little teeny tiny brush, and just put on some music, and I meticulously went in there and fixed each little area, because like I said, I wasn't sure how long it was going to take to mask off those little round portals, because they've got a raised edge on them. So I'm just trying to get this brush clean, because I am going to use this same brush to dry brush some aging onto these things and put a little bit of dirt. So you can see in here, it's not like I painted outside the line, so to speak, but there was some of the red or a day glow color over there. So I kind of masked it up. And then my idea is, as I go in and age this color down to make it closer to this and make it look like it's not fresh paint, but aged paint like you see on the shelf, hopefully I'll be able to cover some of that up. But honestly, I keep moving it further away. Honestly, that looks a lot better, even before the distressing that I'm going to be doing to it. That looks a lot better than the day glow orange. Thank you to whatever person did that sometime over the last 60 years. So, all right, well, I'm going to let this dry overnight so that all of that that satin yellow paint cures, so that it's hardened. And when I get in there with the dry brushing, I'm not going to pull any of that paint off. So, all right, we'll come back to this in the next day here and see if we can kind of make this look a little more natural. Okay, so here we are. Now we're gonna do the very experimental part here. So one of the things I want to do is I want to just get a little bit of paint on the brush, and this is just brush cleaner, so it's paint thinner, and I want to get as almost like it's just dirty dishwater. So yeah, you see how that's going there. So all right, so I'm going to start with just something small, like this bottom rung step here. I'm just going to kind of touch it a little bit here just to see. I think it might be too thin. Okay, so that's too thick. So rubbing it out on the, all right, so let's see here. So, yeah, so it looks a little dirty. Maybe, I don't know. And I don't know if I'm gonna do this up in here or not, but I'm gonna try right now. So I've got it wet, with this brush. I'm gonna grab a different brush that doesn't have any paint on it at all, and just see if I can because you can see that, some of this is smeared over the ears. Still, I don't, it may still not be doing what I want it to do. And that is kind of dirty it up so that you don't notice the difference between the new paint. But I don't know, maybe it's doing that. And there, let's take the dry brush. Oh, that looks definitely better than that as far as giving it some weathering and some age. I know this seems like an awful lot. Why didn't I just go and see if I could find this engine that didn't need all this paint? But That's the nice thing about these Alcos. I just realized this suddenly has gone from being a model train video to a Bob Ross video. So we're going to put happy little clouds in here. That's what we're doing. All right. Oh, it's starting to. It's not really matching the color, but it's just doesn't look like it's brand new paint on there, So let's get that a little bit. Maybe see if we can cover up some of this other red that's on there. Maybe not. Okay. So we're going to dirty this up a little bit. And take our dry brush. Can't get that down in there. Yeah. So if you look at this side, well, I'm sorry, I keep getting that off camera. If you look at this side compared to that side, you can see how much brighter those are than this. I'm just trying to dull them down a little bit. I realize I'm just not going to match the paint the way I want to. But I started to say that, one of the things that's kind of cool about this is these just aren't. All right, I'm getting a lot of that in there, so I want to kind of brush some of that off. But I got to finish this thought. Sorry. These are kind of pretty simple. They're inexpensive to get, so you can kind of play around with them. If you're a purist where you're really just kind of looking for, a restored engine that maybe I'll put a little bit more up in here. A restored engine that is, a museum piece. That's not what I'm doing. Clearly, for those of you watching this video, some of you might be cringing out there saying, "Oh, why didn't he just have it repainted, or why didn't he just go find one that didn't have all of these problems with it?" But if this was like a really expensive post-war locomotive, pre-war locomotive, I wouldn't want to do this stuff to it. But here, I'm just kind of playing around and seeing what I can do to fix this. It was like, whatever it was, 12 bucks. It's making it look like it's the 60 whatever year old locomotive that it is. All right, so now we're going to flip over here to the other side. Get this. I'm trying to keep this on camera so you can at least see what I'm doing. And some of you guys and gals out there who've done model work before might be like, "Oh yeah, I've done this sort of thing." You just may not have. Oh, well, there's a little more dirt on it. May not have thought about doing it with a Lionel locomotive. I have not either, but I looked at this and I thought, what can I do with this? What can I do to make this look a little more like it's supposed to be that way? I will say that on Amazon Prime, my wife and I have been watching this series called Landscape Artist of the Year. And every year they have this competition. It's a British show. And when I watched that, that's kind of that was the motivating factor behind, hey, I bet you I could paint this. And, obviously a little different than what I'm doing. I'm not painting a landscape, but I just, for some reason, that kind of caught my eye and made me think, I bet you I could do some kind of artistic treatment to this to give it a little better feel. So, well, I am coming into the last bits of things. And what I'll probably do is let this dry again overnight and then take a look at it and see if I feel like I want to do any more. Or, sometimes, those of you who build models out there, when you're painting the detail on it, when you're doing weathering especially, sometimes you can take it so far and then you go too far. And I'm sure painters, people who paint landscapes and any other kind of art, sculptor or whatever, probably it's the same thing. It's like you got to know when to stop doing what you're doing and say, well, that's as good as I'm going to make it. So I think I'm going to be to that point, but so yeah, okay. Well, what do you think? There it is. Here's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to see if, if this is going to look okay tomorrow once it's dry. And then the final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to armor all this like I do with all of my plastic shell Alcos, so it gives it a little bit of shine and it cleans off some of this dirt. But I'm going to be real gentle with these areas that I've painted. I don't want to take any of that off. So, all right, here we are back at the bench, and this is all dried overnight. I think I'm just going to go with it this way. I was looking and thinking, well, can I remix this paint and put a little red into it and get it closer to this? But, for what it is, and the fact that, a lot of it is still scratched up, which I don't mind, I think it's fine. I mean, what do you think? Love to hear your comments. It's 1,000 times better than Day Glow orange paint on all these spots. But the big thing that I have to do right now in order to get it kind of finally cleaned up is to hit it with the Armor All, which I've seen people talk about, hey, can we rub this down with turtle wax, whatever. I'm sure that probably works, but I have found that Armor All cleans as well. So it'll take some of this odd stuff off of the finish. Hopefully it won't take anything off that I put on yesterday. That should be pretty solid. And then it just makes it a little more shiny. It does work for me. So I, basically use a paper towel, get it on there, wipe it down. Looks pretty good. And then what we're going to do after that is we'll get it back on the running frame here and get it on the track, our little circle of track that we've been using since Christmas time, since we don't have a full-time layout, and just kind of shoot some running footage of it. So here we go. Well, there we are. I'll tell you what, that really cleaned up nice. And as you can see, maybe on camera, there's a little tinge of yellow on this that I used the cloth, the paper towel to wipe down once I squirted all the Armor All on. So some of this yellow that it's taking off is the paint that is oxidized over the years. And that, taking that off kind of brings the shine back, which is kind of part of what Armor All does. It really is taking oxidization, am I saying that right? Oxidized surfaces off. And so yeah, is it still scratchy and everything? Absolutely. But does it look so much better without the Day Glow paint and with a little shine on it? That's great. Hey, before I show some running footage, I just want to say thank you again for watching the video. If you like the content, click on like for the video and subscribe to our channel. That helps us out quite a bit. We're getting close to 1,000 subscribers. We're, roughly about 100 subscribers away from 1,000. So, and also, click on the little bell. It'll tell you when we post new content. So, all right, let's get this on the track. Thank you so much. We'll catch you on the next video.